exciting day. You know, every time you have a game day before a game, I should say, it's always exciting. But when it's your rivalry, it's even more exciting when the circumstances are what they are. It couldn't be a bigger game, bigger weekend. It couldn't be a bigger 2 weeks than we've had. So looking back on last night, as I said, it wasn't the prettiest game, but we found a way to win, and that was important. I have been proud of this team for how they've responded for the last couple of weeks. But yet we've got our work cut out for us because it only gets tougher. We're going to do everything we can to have them ready. We had a little walkthrough today, a little film session. We got something tonight, and we'll see if they were pretty good this afternoon. So we'll see what tonight goes. As far as the rest of our team, Aaron Henry has been terrific. He's grown. He's become better with the ball. He's become better defensively. There's no question he's one of the best players in this league. And it was done the old-fashioned way. It was earned through process, through trials and tribulations, through good things and bad things. It's just kind of fun to watch him grow. So he and Josh have been our leaders. Frosty's doing a hell of a job in a sling. And right now, our team's making some progress in that respect. As far as Michigan goes, you could argue that they're the best team in the country. They're definitely one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the country. Ironically, they lost the other night to maybe one of the other best teams in the country. When you got 3-4 teams in the top 8 or 9, when you've got 3 for the last month that are in the top 5, I'd say everybody's due to have what I would consider an off night. And I thought Illinois played awfully well. I thought Michigan played uncharacteristically, not as well as they've been playing, but hard to keep that up through an entire season. And they've done an unbelievable job of it. And Isaiah Livers, Eli Brooks, those guys have been around for the duration. I've watched Isaiah grow as a player. I've watched him grow defensively. Eli Brooks, to me, is one of the favorite players of mine in the league because he just kind of embodies everything. He's the glue guy. He's the grunt guy. He's the guy that does all the dirty work, and yet is skilled enough to make shots, make some drives, guard the best players. He does all the utility work. And Wagner, who's been there, for a couple of years now. They've got some veterans. You add a guy like Smith, and you add the big fella in the middle, and, all of a sudden you got a very, very good team. The other addition was the Brown kid from that transferred from Wake Forest. So it's a pretty experienced team other than their center, and one that has, I think, grown defensively. I think they're a lot better team than they were a year ago defensively. I think their offensive stats, are some of the best in the country. So they can shoot it. They got size. They defend it. And they've earned the right to be called one of the best teams in the country. Questions?
We'll go first to Chris Solari.
Hey, Tom, I was wondering, looking at both teams' schedules, obviously you guys, this ain't going to be your 6th game in 13 days, and they'll have had 4 and 8. Is there any way to go into this even remotely thinking or knowing how or when the fatigue factor can hit? And as a coach, you mentioned last night about working on the rotations and subbing. I mean, how much do you kind of have to think that through in the next 24 hours?
Well, I have to think it through a lot. Whether I'll do anything about it is yet to come. You get into the game and, depending how the game goes. But, for everybody this year, I mean, I think you're seeing it. All of a sudden, Villanova goes and gets beat by, not the kind of team they normally get beat by. And, everybody's gone through Tennessee. Everybody's gone through some of these phases where, you don't play as well. Is it fatigue? I would think in most cases it's either mental or physical fatigue. And your point about, do you ever know? The answer is no. There's no blueprint for it. There's nothing I can say. The only thing I've learned is, through COVID, you don't just bounce back. I mean, I think it takes over a month to get everybody back to where they would be, 2 months maybe. And yet nobody knows that. It's different for every individual. I said, I think Josh is coming around. The problem is he came around about 2 weeks ago, just when we started this, what will it be, 7-day games in 15 days or whatever it is for us. And remember, some of those games have been against number 3, number 4, now number 2, then number 2 again. So they're not only games put close together, but they're against some of the best teams in the country, and you got to lay it on the line every night. So I don't know how they are. He knows how they are. I know where we are right now. Whether that fatigue factor fits both of us, I just keep telling my guys there's no such thing as being tired. And they don't always look at me like I'm sane, but that's kind of the battle cry we've used. And somehow, some way, you got to reach down. True champions, great players, they find a way to rise to the occasion. And we're asking a lot of these players, but I'm pleased with where they are, and we'll only find out tomorrow night.
We'll go next to Matt Charbonneau.
Tom, it's been talked about quite a bit over the last week or so here about the opportunity that this schedule offers. As tough as it is, playing those teams and the opportunity in front of you guys, and you've made the most of it to this point. Can you just explain a little bit about that balance of understanding how difficult it is, but also knowing what's at stake for your team and being able to, take advantage of it and make the most of it at the same time?
Yeah, that's exactly what we talked about 5-6 games ago. We did have one of those elephant in the room meetings and talked about it, laid it on the line. I didn't make a big deal about it to you guys then because I didn't want all that pressure on the players. But we do believe here that pressure is a privilege, and it really is. I mean, I've been here when we weren't playing for anything, and we had no pressure. And we had no fun. So pressure is a privilege, and come to a place like this, and you better understand that early. Now this year, it's been harder to understand that with everything else that's gone on, and people losing their family members, assistant coaches losing them. There's been so many things that have happened, but it is a privilege. And Tom says it every day. You don't have to be here. You get to be here. It's a privilege to be here. So. I'm excited how we've responded. We haven't been perfect. We did go through a stretch where our offense was a lot better. We've gone through stretches where our defense has been really good. And we've gone through a couple of games where we just didn't get it done. But we didn't get it done because the other teams are good too. So it's been, I guess, difficult, but it's been rewarding too, because I've watched a few players grow up right in front of me. I've watched the team get some experience on what it's like to fail and what it's like to succeed. And I'm not sure you ever really succeed if you haven't failed. So that's the approach we're taking, and just looking forward. Got a little more opportunity in front of us. See what we can do.
We'll go next to Justin Rose.
Hey, Tom, benefits of playing a team twice in a row. I can't seem to find another example of when you guys have done this. Maybe one of the regular season finals and then the first game of the Big Ten tournament. But do you look at that, or do you just look at tomorrow's game as one whole thing and then Sunday's game as another?
Yeah, I just look at tomorrow's game as one thing. And, I'm sure we've done it once, like you say, maybe in the tournament or back. We used to play, the Big Ten used to play, A to Z, and then they'd go Z to A. And, but that was only for a couple of years. Nobody really liked that. I'm not sure we ever, sometimes you had a break in there and things like that. So I'm just worried about tomorrow night's game, worried about getting my guys as fresh and ready to go as we can. Hopefully we'll have a little walkthrough tonight, little meeting tonight. We'll get up tomorrow, same thing. And then we're going to bust down there. So, I'm excited about the opportunity. I mean, some people can go I've done it here. Could go a whole year without playing 4 top 5 teams, 4 ranked teams. And I'm going to play 4 in the top 5 in a 10-day period. So daunting, yes. Exciting, yes. Nerve-wracking, yes. You can pick an adjective. You can pick anything you want. It's tough. So tough, but I tell my players all the time, I thought that's why you come to school at a place like this. And so I'm excited about it.
And then on the rivalry side of things, I'm sure that alone will give them maybe that extra kick in the pants that they might need if they're tired or if they're not feeling up to it. Do you have to kind of remind them about this rivalry, or will you do it? I know you kind of touched on it a little bit last night, but.
No, I don't think you have to remind them, but I also think it's such a different year. It's everybody knows the rivalry, but the rivalry, in all honesty, lasts a little bit of time when you're playing in front of your fans. It maybe lasts a little longer, but that only carries you through the first couple minutes of the game, and then it's dog eat dog. Reality sets in quick. So I think anytime you play in a rivalry game, it doesn't just count one. I mean, that's pretty normal, but I also think that we've been in a position of playing so many big games, and now we might be playing the best of the best. I mean, I do give them a lot of credit. They've had a hell of a year, and have earned the right to be called, a Final Four contender, a number 1 seed. I have been there before, and it's something that is earned, and they've earned it.
Go next to Kyle Austin.
Seems like you've gotten a little better play defensively out of some of your bigs against Trace last night and maybe Kofi. What steps have they taken, and what is the challenge Dickinson's going to present to them?
Well, the steps they've taken is I think they've spent a little more time. I think they've worked a little harder. I told you all that there's a fine line between pushing them and not. And, after the embarrassment of 50 points down at Indiana, we've kind of righted the ship in there. And I think one of the ways is to play a little more physical, to not let a guy just, go stand where he wants to stand and things like that, beat him to spots. I think my staff has done a good job with that. And I think the guys have done a good job with that. But question you should ask, because I ask, is why not earlier? Well, all part of the process, I guess. But at the same time, we've had our moments when we're good. We just haven't been as consistently. And I think part of that problem, and I've wholeheartedly taken the blame, that it's been changing of the lineup all year long. And yet there's a couple other teams in our league that are doing pretty well that have changed the lineup. It's not changed by the coaches. It's usually changed by the players. So with that is a good thing and a bad thing. The bad thing is there's not as much continuity or chemistry. The good thing is you develop depth, and you hopefully everybody's playing, so everybody's happier. Would it be easier to play 6 or 7 guys and have a feel for each other? 100% yes. But that just wasn't the road we could take this year. So we've taken a different road than normal, and found a way to have some benefits from it.
Sorry, and then Dickinson, what have you seen on him?
On who?
The big guy.
Hunter Dickinson?
Yeah.
Really impressive. I mean, at 7-1, haven't seen him in person yet, but an AAU tournament. But, they've done a good job with him. He's done a good job. He's very much under control for a freshman. He knows what he can do and can't do. He's not taking shots that he can't make. I think they've done a good job with that, put him in a position where he can be successful. He's a load to stop down there. And I think the best thing that I see on film with him is he's a very good athlete, which means he has good basketball IQ. To teach. And it seems to me from this side, he's got a very high basketball IQ. A big man.
Hey, Tom, I don't want to get into old wives' tales or superstition, but when you see the team you're about to play take a right before you play them? You cringe because now you're thinking these guys are going to be locked in even more if they weren't going to be before they play?
It doesn't. And the only reason it doesn't is I think you're going to, the rivalry game, they're going to be locked in either way, I think. I think we are too, but I could look at it the other way. We kind of embarrassed ourselves at Maryland in my way, so we're not happy either. And, I think in that game, there's no question Michigan did not play as well, but there's also no question Illinois is one of the best teams in the country. And the two guards from Illinois played out of their minds, I thought. And, so Michigan's going to be fired up if they would have won or lost, and probably so is Michigan State. It'll be interesting to see who can bring it, who can sustain it for 40 minutes, and what the outcome will be.
All right. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We'll go next to Larry Leish.
Hey, Tom, two-parter. One about your team, Langford. Have you thought about starting him at point guard or just playing him more there? It seems like it gives you a relatively steady hand with what you've got.
Yeah, steady hand. The problem is I just run out of subs, and right now he's walking on his knees, So when you play the point, that is a more demanding position physically and mentally too. So I thought about playing him there some, and I probably will. I'll probably play Aaron there some. Diet, it's hard to do that right now because then I have no subs. If I'm playing Gabe in there, it just makes it a little more difficult. So, we're going to work around it. We think we've got a good game plan going in for if you can do that in 24 hours or 22 hours, whatever it's been, 20 hours. But, it'll be something we'll do a little bit of. It hurts our running game, but we haven't been running really well. And there's certain guys that push it better than others. Rocket pushes it better than AJ. We're trying to get him to do it more, but both of them probably push it a little better than Josh just because he, doesn't understand it all. But in the middle of the game when it's on the line, I do have some options to go with big guards. And I have some options to go with smaller guards. And you got to guard them too, And right now, Smith's playing pretty well. He runs their team. He's able to do some things. It's not that he gets a ton of shots. That's what I love about him and Eli Brooks. They don't need a million shots to impact the game. One can impact it with the pass. One can impact it with some drives, some screening, some defense. Those guys impress me, and in that respect.
My other question is, if you can put on your big picture hat and humor me, Big Ten haven't won a title, obviously, since yours in 2000. And I don't think there's any doubt that the Big Ten is the best top to bottom with some top end talent. Do you think one way or another this will be or could be the year that the Big Ten ends that 21-year drought?
I do. I really do. I have a lot of respect for the league. I think we've got 4 or 5 teams that are on the top that could do it. Then there's a couple of teams, you don't want to play Purdue. Rutgers at times is very difficult to play against. I'm trying to think of the teams that I know will get in. I mean, it's easy to say Iowa, Illinois, and Michigan, and Wisconsin. They've struggled a little bit lately. But remember last year they had struggled and won 8 in a row at the end. So I think there's enough good teams that we could get a couple teams in the finals. Like there's been a couple times we've been there. I think we were in there with Wisconsin. I think we were in there with Ohio State. I think we were in there with Illinois. I think 3 times of my 8, we were in there with another Big Ten team. And me personally, I'd love to see a couple Big Ten teams get there again. I'd like to see a Big Ten team win it. It's kind of a shame, but that's how you're judged. You're judged. Sometimes your conference is judged by, well, you haven't won a championship, and that's rightfully so. I understand that, but I'll tell you what, if there's any conference that's been close to as good as ours, top to bottom this year, or in a lot of years, I'd like to see it.
We'll go next to Audrey Dahlgren.
Hi, Tom. Hopefully you were able to get a little bit of sleep last night, but
Does it look like it?
The fatigue aspect, I have kind of a two-parter as well. Number one, did you reach out to Magic, or did you reach out to anybody in terms of, because you said you were going to pick some people's brains, maybe in a sense of when it came to helping your guys through the fatigue?
You know, I did not get a hold of Urban, but you know, what I did is I looked back on some of the guys that I went through some things with and thought of how we handled it. If I was to be perfectly honest with you, from, you know, 2 o'clock last night, a couple hours sleep, back in this morning, and then, you know, it was a long day for us. I haven't made many calls. I might do some tonight, because right now I'm just concerned with making sure we get a game plan together on what they do, and that's kind of all my focus will be till 9 o'clock tonight. Then after that, I'll take an hour or two to be just a regular human being for a while, and still doing some work, but maybe getting a hold of some people. And, you know, I think I know mostly how to handle this. It's, I think as I talk to anybody, the problem will be, there's nobody I can talk to that said, well, you know, we had some guys that come off COVID, or we had some guys that did this. I mean, because nobody's been through that. Not Magic, not Steve Smith, not Mateen, not Denzel, not Draymond. You know, none of those guys, you know, have Jaren, or, you know, Jaren's had some injuries, Miles, none of them. So I would look at it as I'm just going to have to suck it up and maybe talk to a few, but most importantly is just realize that, yes, there's going to be some guys that are fatigued and tired, and nobody gives a damn. You know, they really don't. What we got to convince them is for 40 minutes, there's no fatigue, there's no tiredness. You just got to do the best job you can do. But never has there been a 2-week period like this. So, you know, the reason I almost, you know, really wanted to talk to Irvin, and still may, is because I remember watching those Celtic Lakers where they play on one night, fly across country, play a night later, fly across country, you know, play 2 nights later. That seems like it'd be tougher than what we're going through. But you had the pandemic in there and what these guys have been going through, and maybe it's not tougher.
And then, I mean, you guys, you know, Michigan, the rivalry is solid with you and Michigan. And so, but the magnitude of it to be 2 games just back to back, kind of going off of Justin a little bit, but I mean, how does that just increase it? You know, I mean, not the allure of it, but, you know, what does it add, or what will it add when these 2 games are done?
Well, I don't think, you know, I don't think Juwan would like to play 2 games back to back. I don't think I would against anybody, but it's the cards we're dealt, and that's what we got to do. You know, I mean, the good news for me is I wanted to get 20 games in this year, and we're going to get 20 games in, it looks like. And that's a big thing to me, you know. And did it hurt us a little bit at the end because we had to play so many games to make up for when we didn't play for those 20 days? Sure, it's going to hurt us a little bit, but the opportunity these guys get, some of them will never get back to college basketball, and to get a chance to do this, I think is phenomenal. But you know, I don't think anybody would like to play back-to-back games. It's just the way it is, and it's the way it'll be, and it's fair. It's the same for both sides. So if you win one, if you win the first one, then you love to play back-to-back games, you know, I think. But I don't know. I've never really done it. I've never done it at this level of the magnitude of these games for them too. I mean, I think they're a 1 seed no matter what they do, because I think they've earned that over a period of time. But you never know what the committees will do nowadays. And so, you know, just as bigger for them as it is for us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have time for a couple more. We'll wrap it up with Stephen Brooks and then go back to Chris Solari.
Hey, Tom, like you guys were just discussing, with the reality of, you know, having 2 bites at the apple against Michigan here, will part of your message be to try to keep it as if there is only one, you know, just so it's not even in the back of their minds, like, we do have another shot at this, you know, if things don't go right? Does that have to be part of your message, to just treat it like it's only one and you don't really have that mulligan, I guess?
100%. 100%. I mean, the last thing you want to do is be thinking about, the old one game at a time coach speak, but that's the same for all of us. It's you want to try to take care of business of whatever business you're in right off the bat. And then if presents itself that there's another opportunity, then there is. But we're definitely not looking forward. And it's not like we're saying, well, we got a home game Sunday. We're not looking forward to that at all. We're looking forward to the game tomorrow night and seeing how we can play. And, I think the one area that'll be interesting is, when I did look at a couple of those NBA jobs, one of the things Doc Rivers, PJ Carlissimo, those guys used to say that one advantage of the NBA is the playoffs. When you play a game and then you're off a day and you play another game and you got to, figure out what you did well, what you didn't do well, what their counter might be, what your counter might be. Those guys thought that was the greatest thing in the world. We don't have to deal with that very often. We might have to deal with it, but I'll deal with it Thursday night at, midnight. I'm not dealing with it today or tonight or tomorrow at all. I'm dealing with that one game, try to win that game. And after that, we go from there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we'll wrap it up with one from Chris Solari.
I wondered to know that you've probably been looking more ahead maybe than backward at the Indiana game, but I just wondered with what you saw in Marcus last night and his performance, because it seemed like there were some of maybe the best stretches he's played in a Michigan State uniform on both ends of the court.
It's funny you say that. I had a couple of friends of mine around the country, a couple of coaches that called me and said the exact same thing. And I do think he deserved a little more credit than maybe we all gave him, because he ran pretty well. He blocked shots. He got some rebounds. He had some energy. Marcus says, it's been a rough go, but as he still matures what he still has to do, but as he does, I haven't given up on Marcus at all. I still always remember the Morris Petersons in my first couple of years, Didn't take 2 years, didn't take really 3, but by year 3.5, 4, he was ready to have a great 4th year and then an incredible 5th year since we redshirted him. And then look what happened. So Marcus, if he ever gets serious about gaining weight and strength, because I think he can, and really he loves the game, if he starts to live the game, I still think he has a chance to be a very, very good basketball player here. Has it taken longer than I would have liked? Yes. Longer than he would have liked? Yes. But, it's part of the process, and the process is different for every kid. And as long as you see some progress in the process, and there's been times I haven't, but there are times this year that I really have. And then, it's got to be the right opportunity. And he's getting that opportunity. He's working harder. We put him on a scout team so he could get more reps, more minutes, better conditioned. I really think that's helped him. And he'd be a good guy to get in here to make sure you guys could talk to him. So I'll see if I can do that in the next day or two.
All right, Coach, that's all we have.
Well, I hope you guys, I don't know if, are they allowing any media down there?
Small number,
Small number?
I think 5.
Those of you that are going down there, I hope you enjoy it. Those of you that are sitting home having a beer and just kind of relaxing, have a pizza and a beer on me, and see if we can find a way to play a little better offensively tomorrow and just as good defensively. It'll take a monster effort, as I said, and yet that's what rivalries are about. That's what best games are all about. That's what playing the best teams are all about. And that's what tomorrow night will be all about. So thanks a lot. See you.